We have SROs on every school. Did the good guys with the guns stop 6 people from getting murdered? No. But you know what? AR-15s, you know seen what those bullets do to children? You know why you don't hunt with an AR-15 with a deer? Because there's nothing left. And there's nothing left of these kids when people go into school and murder them while they're trying to read. You guys are worried about banning books. Dead kids can't read.
That was Democratic Representative Jared Moskowitz, who was responding to one of Marjorie Taylor Greene's insane tangents. I have more video of that exchange because it is fantastic, specifically Marjorie Greene and what she says. But first, pointing out how the right wing is currently focused on banning books is, I would say, a pretty devastating point. You know why? It's because they're doing that, claiming to do it in the name of protecting the children. Oh, we got to protect the children. You see, the children, they're being indoctrinated. That's what's going on. They're being indoctrinated and they're being turned gay. Well, first of all, no, that's not the reality. You don't turn people gay. That's not a thing that happens. But most importantly, in relation to this, children are not dying from reading books about racism and LGBTQ people. They are dying from gun violence. It's the #1 killer of children in America. Not drag shows, not books, not CRT. Unless, of course, the CRTs in question are the old TV/VCR carts that could potentially fall in your head. That could probably kill you or injure you. Y'all who are my age, you know what I'm talking about. Although when you see that get reeled into your class, it is kind of exciting. Oh, yeah, we get to watch a movie. But look, none of the things the right wing have been blaming these school shootings on, those things are not the things that are actually killing children, okay? But nonetheless, in the next video here, Greene is going to make a common argument on the right. Let's take a listen.
Yeah, when I was in 11th grade and Joe Biden made our schools gun-free school zones, one of the students in my school brought 3 guns to school, and our entire school went on lockdown because he was the only person with a gun. There was no good guy with a gun to protect us kids at school. You want to know why the shooter is dead in Nashville, the trans shooter? You want to know why? Because the good guy with a gun killed that woman. She identified as a man. She was mentally ill, probably taking hormones, and she went in and murdered children and adults in this Christian school in Nashville. So if you want to have a good talk about schools and protecting children, we need to talk about protecting our children the same way we protect our president, we protect our celebrities, we protect this building.
My time.
All right, there was a lot there. There was a lot. So let's start with the obvious thing first. Back when I was 11 years old, Joe Biden was president and he made schools gun-free. Wait, what? Hold on here. Look, I know Joe Biden is getting up there. Marjorie Greene, though, is 48 years old, meaning she went to school during the presidency of not Joe Biden, but George H.W. Bush. Because he was the one who signed into law the Gun-Free School Zones Act of 1990. By the way, that passed through the House of Representatives with an overwhelming 313-1. Wait. So wait, where exactly did Joe Biden fit into this? Oh, well, you're gonna love that actually, because it turns out she got that information from a meme. Yep, memes. The best memes, the greatest memes, They're realist memes, except they're not real at all. Yes, you're not going to be surprised that that is, again, completely untrue. I know, right? We have a legislator that uses memes, and incorrect ones. What an embarrassment. So let me give you facts on what happened. The Gun-Free Zone Act was introduced by a Wisconsin senator named Herb Kohl. That bill was packaged into the 1990 crime bill. So this is where Joe Biden actually is involved, because Senator Joe Biden had sponsored the 1990 crime bill, which, again, in my opinion, was a disaster for the black community, the crime bill overall. Now, afterwards that this was passed, and by the way, conservatives love the crime bill. But, okay, now in 1995, the Supreme Court actually struck down the Gun-Free Zone Act. And so that's because of the United States versus Lopez decision. And so afterwards, Senator Kohl had amended the law to then limit applications to guns affected by interstate or foreign commerce. So according to Reuters, Kohl reintroduced the Gun-Free Schools Act of 1995 in the Senate on June 7th, 1995. And was Joe Biden even a co-sponsor? No, he was not. His name does not appear among a list of its 10 co-sponsors from both parties in congressional records. So once again, Marjorie Taylor Greene gets her information from a meme, a right-wing meme. What an absolute total embarrassment.
Nancy Pelosi's gazpacho police.
Stupid.
You idiot.
Okay, anyway. Overall point, though. After the second Bush administration, not the first Bush administration, when she was in high school, but the second Bush administration, that's George W., he decided to, and Republicans, decided to let the assault weapons ban that was signed into law under Bill Clinton to expire. And afterwards, you ended up seeing an increase in mass shootings, which also include school shootings. In fact, I have a graph showing that. Mass shootings in the U.S. You see there, 2004 is when the assault weapons ban expired. And wow, would you look at that? More mass shootings. Weird how that works out, huh? Man, I wonder if those things might be related in any way, shape, or form. Probably not, though, you know. Of course. No, Moskowitz also pointed out that, yes, Republicans let the assault weapons ban lapse, and also pointed out that putting armed guards in schools hasn't worked. You saw that part of the video here. But here's the thing. More guns in the schools is not the answer. It just isn't. Now, look, the last thing that I want to address here is not it's a talking point that I don't see addressed a lot. And maybe that's just me not, seeing enough people really think about this point. But talking about celebs, politicians, people in Congress having armed guards. I think there's a reason for that. For one, obviously, since they are public figures, there's a better chance, especially when it comes to politics, especially when it comes to today, the amount of death threats politicians get and public figures, it's a lot. So, look, armed guards for those people do make sense because, again, these armed guards are generally protecting a few people, generally a family at most. from very specific kinds of threats. And it's more than just the guards. There's, people that are looking for specific threats against specific lawmakers. And of course, any threat that's directed towards a lawmaker generally gets shared with people like the Secret Service, and there's different investigative bodies that will look into threats, FBI, etc. And so, and that, again, that's because public figures get death threats all the time. You know who also gets death threats? Media. David Pakman, for example, is another YouTuber. You might have heard of him. He made a tweet that went viral, and lo and behold, he got an outpouring of death threats from the right wing. But here's the thing. In media, we're all kind of used to that because we know the vast majority of them are generally not serious. But at the same time, you never really know. So you got to be a little bit careful. So that's why, again, the bigger of a public figure that you are, the more likely you'll be getting security guards. Now, how this is different than schools, and why I'm addressing this point in the first place, is that generally there are not people out there making specific threats against school children. And that's generally a good thing, right? And look, there's hundreds, sometimes thousands of children that are in these schools or school districts. And oftentimes, not always, but it sometimes happens to be one of the students, maybe a current student or a former student, that ends up becoming a mass shooter. Again, not in every circumstance or case, but in the case of Nashville, for example, yes, that shooter did happen to go to that school and appeared to have some pretty personal grievances against people there. And of course, that does not make it right at all. And it should go without saying that those of us on the left, those who are trans allies, we of course will denounce this. It's not even in question. And so it irritates me. You're going to denounce that. You're going to, all trans people, you're going to denounce that. What? Oh, of course. It's the most ridiculous thing. But anyway, look, the threat for schools, for school children, when it comes to guns, it doesn't mainly come from random people outside the way that it would come from, or I would say the way that it would affect a celebrity or, things like that, or a politician. Okay. Generally, the threat usually comes from the inside. And the other thing is, we don't know where the next shooting is going to happen. So there is that randomness to it. And look, the school resource officers, if they're in the schools, they don't know. They're often taken by surprise by a mass shooter. And look, when that school resource officer gets taken by surprise, very likely they're going to end up being the first victim. And then that mass shooter is going to get another gun. Another weapon to use against students to shoot indiscriminately. And so not only that, but of course, these mass shooters tend to usually be more heavily armed, have something to do with, our very lax gun laws. So they usually have rifles, ammunition, body armor, and a plan. They know the insides. They know where the guards are. And so it makes it much different than if you were talking about a celebrity, a politician, or a public figure. This is why the majority of shootings in schools are not prevented by or even thwarted by armed guards in the schools. At the end of the day, this is an idea, arming the teachers and arming, putting more guards in schools. It's something that requires little thought, but feels good. Oh, okay, more people with guns in the schools to counter. Oh, okay, I don't have to put much thought into it because it just makes me feel safe. But it doesn't work. It is based on fear, but it's not effective. And so the people that are pushing this understand that either they do not know that this is a real solution, or they know that it's not a real solution, but it goes along with them and what they're selling, which is fear. I would say that fear is also one of the reasons that they turned this horrible tragedy into a crusade against trans people. It's all to try to sell that fear.